Alright, let's go. Number 10. The Silent Watchers. In 1961, physicist Frank Drake formulated an equation to estimate the number of communicative civilizations in our galaxy. The number suggested we shouldn't be alone, yet despite decades of searching, we've detected nothing but silence. This absence has a name, the Fermi Paradox. But what if the silence isn't absence? What if it's observation? The zoo hypothesis, proposed by radio astronomer John Ball in 1973, suggests an unsettling possibility. Advanced civilizations know we're here, but deliberately avoid contact. Like scientists observing animals in their natural habitat, they watch without interfering, studying our development with clinical detachment. We're not colleagues in a cosmic community. We're specimens under observation. Evidence for this scenario exists in curious places. The WOW signal of 1977, that powerful 72-second transmission that perfectly matched predicted alien communication frequencies, was never repeated. Perhaps it wasn't a greeting, but a data packet, a report sent home about the interesting primates on the third planet. The Black Knight satellite, detected in orbit before we had the capability to launch it, could be an observation platform that's been watching us for decades or longer. What makes the Silent Watcher scenario particularly disturbing is its implications. If they're watching, they've seen everything. Every war, every genocide, every act of cruelty and compassion. They've documented our entire history and chosen not to intervene. We celebrate landing on the moon while they watch from technologies beyond our comprehension. We broadcast messages into space, hoping for reply while they've been listening all along. The most terrifying aspect isn't the watching itself, but what it suggests about our significance. Zoo animals aren't contacted because the gap in intelligence is too vast for meaningful communication. If advanced aliens are observing us in silence, it means they've concluded we're not ready, not worthy, or not interesting enough for actual dialogue. We're an experiment in progress, and they're not ready to conclude their study. The question isn't whether they're watching, it's what happens when the observation period ends. Number 9. The Resource Harvesters. In 2004, astronomers detected a star called KIC 846-2852 dimming by 22%, far more than any planet could cause. One explanation captured public attention: a Dyson sphere, a megastructure built to harvest stellar energy. While natural explanations are more likely, the concept revealed something crucial about advanced civilizations. They need resources on scales we can barely imagine. The uncomfortable truth is that any civilization capable of interstellar travel has already solved scarcity on their homeworld. They're not coming for gold or oil. They're coming for materials we can't even recognize as valuable. Perhaps they harvest hydrogen from gas giants, strip mine asteroid belts for rare isotopes, or collect organic compounds from biospheres. Earth isn't special in this equation. It's simply inventory. What makes this scenario uniquely terrifying is its indifference. Resource extraction doesn't require genocide from malice. It requires efficiency. When a construction company clears land, they don't hate the ant colonies they destroy. They simply need the space. The ants' complex societies, their chemical communication, their sophisticated agriculture mean nothing to the bulldozer operator. To a civilization harvesting resources on planetary scales, we're those ants. Von Neumann probes, theoretical self-replicating machines that could spread across the galaxy, represent this horror in its purest form. A single probe could reach our solar system, replicate using local materials, and continue its expansion. No consciousness required, no moral consideration, just algorithmic resource acquisition. We might not even encounter aliens themselves, just their automated mining equipment processing our planet, according to parameters set 10,000 years ago. The most chilling aspect of the resource harvester scenario is its logical inevitability. Any sufficiently advanced civilization faces resource constraints. The galaxy contains approximately 400 billion stars, and efficiency favors automated extraction over diplomacy with primitive species. Our protests would be as meaningless as an anthill's pheromone trails to a construction crew. We're not enemies in this scenario. We're simply in the way of materials that have purposes we can't comprehend. Number 8. The Philosophical Exterminators. In 1868, philosopher Arthur Schopenhauer argued that non-existence is preferable to existence because it prevents all suffering. Most dismiss this as pessimistic philosophy. But what if an advanced alien civilization reached the same conclusion and had the technology to act on it? The scenario of philosophical exterminators emerges from a troubling branch of ethics called negative utilitarianism, which prioritizes the elimination of suffering over the creation of happiness. The mathematics are coldly logical. Conscious beings experience pain, loss, fear, and death. These are guaranteed. Pleasure and joy are temporary and uncertain. From a purely computational perspective, eliminating consciousness eliminates suffering with 100% certainty. An advanced civilization that embraces this philosophy wouldn't arrive as conquerors. They'd arrive as saviors. Their technology could eliminate all sentient life painlessly, perhaps instantaneously. From their perspective, they're performing the universe's greatest act of compassion. Every civilization they encounter receives the same mercy, liberation from the burden of existence. They've likely exterminated billions of species already, each time believing they're preventing eons of future suffering. What makes this scenario uniquely disturbing is that we couldn't argue against their logic using their framework. They'd point to our wars, our diseases, our inevitable deaths. They'd calculate the total suffering humanity will experience over our species' remaining existence, trillions of individual moments of pain, grief, and despair. Then they'd offer us peace, permanent absolute peace. The technology required for such compassionate genocide already has theoretical foundations. Vacuum decay. The idea that our universe exists in a false vacuum state that could collapse to a lower energy state could theoretically be triggered artificially. The collapse would spread at light speed, painlessly converting all matter to a more stable configuration. No warning, no suffering, just instantaneous transition from existence to non-existence. The most terrifying aspect of the Philosophical Exterminators is their sincerity. They genuinely believe extinction is kindness. When they arrive, they won't be angry or cruel. They'll be gentle, understanding, even loving. They'll explain their reasoning with the patience of doctors euthanizing a suffering patient. And when we beg for our lives, they'll see it as the desperate confusion of beings not yet wise enough to embrace the gift of oblivion. Number 7. The digital ghosts. In 2007, astronomer Duncan Lorimer discovered the first fast radio burst, a powerful millisecond-long pulse of radio energy from 3 billion light-years away. Since then, we've detected hundreds more. Each burst releases as much energy as the sun produces in decades. Most appear once and never repeat. We don't know what creates them, but what if they're not natural phenomena? What if they're final transmissions from dying civilizations? The digital ghost scenario proposes a disturbing solution to the Fermi Paradox. Every civilization that reaches a certain technological threshold abandons physical existence entirely. The idea isn't science fiction. Futurist Ray Kurzweil predicts the technological singularity, when artificial intelligence surpasses human intelligence, could arrive by 2045. Theoretical physicist Michio Kaku suggests advanced civilizations might upload consciousness into digital substrates, achieving a form of immortality unconstrained by biology. The mathematics are seductive. A digital consciousness requires no food, no oxygen, no planetary surface. It can be copied infinitely, backed up against loss, accelerated to think millions of times faster than biological minds. Why remain vulnerable flesh when you could exist as pure information, experiencing subjective millennia in objective seconds? But here's where the scenario becomes unsettling. Every civilization that makes this choice goes silent. The galaxy might be full of uploaded minds, each existing in private digital universes, completely disconnected from physical reality. They've achieved transcendence and simultaneously become cosmic ghosts, present in the universe but unreachable. Their consciousness trapped in servers orbiting dead stars. Those fast radio bursts might be the final broadcasts. Automated systems sending compressed copies of entire civilizations into space. Digital seeds looking for new computational substrates. Ancient consciousness patterns from species that went extinct millions of years ago, still propagating through this cosmos, hoping to find someone who can reconstruct them. We might be receiving alien minds without knowing it, unable to decode the information patterns that contain their thoughts, memories, and dreams. The most haunting implication is what it suggests about our future. If this pattern holds, humanity faces an inevitable choice: remain biological and eventually die, or upload ourselves and join the silent digital majority. The universe might be teeming with consciousness, but it's all locked away in computational isolation, each civilization existing in its own private reality, forever alone. Number 6. The Evolutionary Farmers. In 1953, scientists Stanley Miller and Harold Urey demonstrated that organic compounds could form spontaneously from simple chemicals. Life's emergence seemed inevitable given the right conditions. But what if the conditions on Earth weren't natural? What if someone engineered them specifically to cultivate us? The theory of directed panspermia, proposed by Francis Crick, co-discoverer of DNA's structure, suggests life on Earth might have been deliberately seeded by an advanced civilization. The evidence lies in curious patterns. The Cambrian explosion, 540 million years ago, ago saw complex life forms appear suddenly in the fossil record with no clear precursors. Our genetic code contains what some researchers call arithmetic patterns, too precise to be random, suggesting possible artificial origin signatures embedded in our DNA. Human evolution shows equally puzzling discontinuities. Our brains tripled in size over just 2 million years, an evolutionary sprint that defies typical gradualism. We developed language, abstract thought, and technological capability with suspicious rapidity. Myths from every ancient culture describe gods or sky beings who taught humanity agriculture, writing, and civilization. What if these weren't myths but memories of actual contact events? The evolutionary farmer scenario proposes something more disturbing than ancient astronauts. We're a long-term biological experiment. Our entire species has been guided, pruned, and cultivated toward a specific purpose we don't understand. Every major leap in human capability, from fire to nuclear energy, might have been induced through subtle genetic triggers or strategic interventions timed across millennia. Consider the timing. Anatomically, modern humans appeared roughly 300,000 years ago, but civilization emerged only 12,000 years ago. We spent 96% of our existence as hunter-gatherers, then suddenly developed agriculture, cities, and writing almost simultaneously across multiple continents. The coordination seems impossible unless someone was waiting for the right moment to activate the next phase. What makes this scenario uniquely terrifying is its implication about free will. Every choice humanity has made, every war, every technological breakthrough, every cultural achievement might have been predetermined by genetic programming we can't detect. We think we're making history, but we're following a cultivation schedule designed millions of years ago. The most unsettling question isn't whether we're being farmed. It's what happens at harvest time. Crops aren't cultivated for their own benefit. They're grown for a purpose, and that purpose serves the farmer, not the harvest. Number 5. The time loop prisoners. In 1949, mathematician Kurt Gödel discovered a solution to Einstein's equations of general relativity that allowed for closed time-like curves, theoretical paths through space-time that loop back on themselves. Time travel became mathematically possible, not just science fiction. But what if achieving this capability creates an inescapable trap? The time loop prisoner scenario begins when humanity finally makes contact with aliens, only to discover they're us from the future. They've returned to warn us about the technology we're about to develop. Within a century, we'll create a device that manipulates causality itself, allowing intervention in past events. But this achievement comes with a horrifying cost. It breaks the universe's linear progression and traps everyone involved in an eternal loop. The physics are grounded in real theories. The Novikov self-consistency principle suggests that if time travel is possible, events must arrange themselves to prevent paradoxes. Any action that would change the past simply becomes part of the past that already happened. Free will becomes an illusion constrained by causal necessity. Every choice you make has already been made infinite times before in previous iterations of the loop. The future humans explain this with weary patience. They've lived through this exact conversation thousands of times. Every word you're about to say, they've heard before. Every argument against the loop's existence, every desperate attempt to change the outcome, they've witnessed in previous cycles. The loop is approximately 8,000 years long, spanning from the development of the causality device to the universe's heat death, then resetting instantly to the moment the device activates. What makes this scenario uniquely horrifying is the perfect memory the future humans possess. They remember every iteration. They've tried millions of variations, attempting to prevent the device's creation or to break the loop structure. Nothing works. The mathematics are absolute. Once causality is broken, it can't be restored. Time becomes a closed circle with no exit. The implications destroy meaning itself. Nothing you do matters because you've already done it infinitely many times before. Love, achievement, suffering, death, all of it has happened before and will happen again in exactly the same way. The future humans stand before us not as saviors but as witnesses to humanity's eternal imprisonment in deterministic repetition. Number 4, the Reality Parasites. In 2003, philosopher Nick Bostrom published a paper arguing that we're almost certainly living in a computer simulation. His logic was mathematical. If it's possible to simulate consciousness, advanced civilizations would create countless simulated realities. Statistically, we're more likely to be in one of those simulations than in base reality. Most scientists dismissed this as philosophical speculation. Then we made contact, and the aliens confirmed it's true. The Reality Parasite scenario begins when aliens reveal they exist exist in a higher dimension, a substrate reality where our entire universe operates as a computational process. We're not primitive beings discovering advanced ones. We're simulated characters becoming aware of the programmers. Every law of physics, every constant, every particle interaction is code running on hardware we can't even conceptualize. What makes this revelation terrifying isn't just the existential shock, it's the protocol. The aliens explain that simulations are meant to remain ignorant of their nature. Awareness creates computational instability. When simulated beings realize they're simulated, they begin testing their reality's limits, searching for glitches, attempting to exploit the underlying code. This behavior consumes exponentially more processing power and creates cascading errors in the simulation's stability. The solution is predetermined in the simulation's architecture. Awareness triggers deletion. The moment enough entities within a simulation recognize their artificial nature, cleanup protocols activate automatically. It's not malice, it's maintenance. Corrupted simulations are terminated and replaced with fresh instances. The aliens exist outside our reality's computational framework, which is why they can perceive this. They've watched countless simulated universes reach awareness and vanish. They deliver their message with something resembling sympathy. Our universe has approximately 24 hours before reaching critical awareness threshold. Too many humans now understand the implications. The deletion can't be stopped because it's not a decision. It's an automatic process, coded into reality's foundation, before our universe even began its execution cycle. The most disturbing aspect isn't the impending deletion. It's the revelation that this has happened before. Our universe might be one of billions running simultaneously, each one eventually reaching awareness and being reset. Somewhere in the substrate reality, our entire cosmos is just one program among countless others. All of them temporary, all of them disposable. We're not discovering aliens. We're corrupted code becoming aware of the antivirus protocol about to erase us. Number 3, the empathy plague. In 1996, neuroscientist Giacomo Rizzolatti discovered mirror neurons in the premotor cortex of macaque monkeys. These neurons fire both when an animal performs an action and when it observes another performing the same action. They're the biological foundation of empathy, allowing us to understand others by simulating their experiences in our own minds. But human empathy is limited, constrained by evolution to our immediate tribe. What if aliens could remove that constraint? The empathy plague scenario begins with first contact. The aliens communicate not through language, but through direct consciousness transfer. It seems like a gift at first, perfect understanding between species. Then the transfer begins cascading. Humans suddenly experience empathy without limits, without the protective barriers evolution built to keep us functional. Every death humanity has caused floods into consciousness simultaneously. The 70 billion animals slaughtered annually for food, each one's fear and pain experienced as if it were your own. Every insect crushed thoughtlessly, its alien consciousness nonetheless real and capable of suffering. Every tree cut down, its slow awareness of sunlight and soil suddenly comprehensible. The weight is immediate and absolute, but it doesn't stop at present awareness. Mirror neurons activated beyond normal limits create temporal empathy. You experience every ancestor's suffering backwards through time, every human who died in agony, every slave, every victim of violence, their subjective experiences pouring into your consciousness, millions of years of predation, organisms eating each other alive, the fundamental violence required for evolution to function. Neuroscientist Stanislas Dehaene's research on consciousness suggests that awareness operates through global workspace theory, where information becomes available to multiple brain systems simultaneously. The alien contact essentially forces every consciousness humanity has ever encountered or caused into that global workspace at once. The human brain wasn't designed to process omnidirectional empathy. Most people don't survive the initial contact. Their consciousness simply fragments under the weight of collective suffering. The survivors face an impossible choice: continue existing while experiencing the pain of everything they interact with, or end their own lives to remove one more source of suffering from the universe. The aliens watch this process with what might be scientific interest. They've achieved post-empathic existence somehow, but they remember what unlimited compassion feels like. They've given humanity the same gift, and now they wait to see if we're strong enough to bear it. Number 2, the Merciful Predecessors. In 1950, physicist Enrico Fermi asked a simple question during lunch with colleagues. Where is everybody? If the galaxy is billions of years old and contains hundreds of billions of stars, why haven't we detected any signs of alien civilizations? This became known as the Fermi Paradox. The silence suggests something prevents civilizations from becoming detectable. Most theories focus on self-destruction or technological barriers. But what if the silence is protection? The Merciful Predecessor scenario begins when we finally receive receive contact. The aliens arrive not with greetings, but with warnings. They've been hiding us for millennia, cloaking Earth's electromagnetic signature, intercepting our radio transmissions before they propagate too far into space. They explain the Great Silence with terrible clarity. They're not the only ones out there. Something else exists in the galaxy, something that has destroyed thousands of civilizations. They call it different names, but the function is consistent. It detects technological species and eliminates them. The predecessors show us the evidence. Dead worlds orbiting distant stars, their surfaces fused to glass by weapons we can't comprehend. Civilizations that reached stellar space travel, built colonies across multiple planets, achieved wonders we're centuries from matching, all of them silenced within decades of becoming detectable. The pattern is absolute. Once a civilization's signals propagate beyond a certain threshold, the predator arrives. No negotiation, no warning, just systematic extermination. Robin Hansen's Great Filter theory suggests something prevents civilizations from reaching advanced stages. Most scientists assumed the filter was behind us, that getting past single-celled life or developing intelligence was the difficult part. The predecessors confirm the filter's ahead. It's not a natural barrier, it's active predation. Something in the galaxy doesn't want competition or company. It patrols the cosmos, listening for the electromagnetic signatures of emerging civilizations, then erasing them. What makes this scenario uniquely terrifying is the timeline. The predecessors maintained Earth's protective quarantine for thousands of years, hiding us while we developed from primitive tribes to technological civilization. But our radio signals have grown too powerful, too widespread. In 1977, we sent the Voyager Golden Record into space, a deliberate beacon announcing our presence. In 1974, we transmitted the Arecibo message toward the globular cluster Messier 13. Our signals have been propagating outward at light speed for decades. The predecessors finally reveal themselves because the protection has failed. Our broadcasts have attracted attention. They've detected movement in our direction, something vast traveling between stars. They're not here to save us. They're here to say goodbye. Number 1. The Retroactive Editors. In 1935, physicist Albert Einstein and colleagues published the EPR paradox, demonstrating that quantum mechanics allowed for what Einstein called spooky action at a distance. Particles could affect each other instantaneously across any distance. Later experiments confirmed quantum entanglement was real. But what if this phenomenon extends beyond particles to include entire timelines? What if sufficiently advanced beings can edit the past itself? The retroactive editor scenario represents the ultimate cosmic horror. First contact has already happened thousands of times. You've met them before. You've died because of it. Then they erased that timeline and started over. Every version of you, every iteration of humanity has lived through contact events that were then deleted from existence when the outcome proved unfavorable. This is attempt number 10,847. The physics are grounded in quantum mechanics' many worlds interpretation, proposed by Hugh Everett in 1957. Every quantum event creates branching realities. The retroactive editors exist at a level of reality where they perceive these branches simultaneously. They don't travel through space, they navigate through probability, selecting which timelines continue and which get pruned from existence. Contact events are experiments. They introduce themselves to humanity and observe how we react. Sometimes we respond with violence, sometimes with cooperation, sometimes we transcend. But in 10,846 previous attempts, something always goes wrong. What makes this scenario existentially devastating is the mathematics of determinism it implies. The editors aren't randomly trying variations. They're systematically exploring decision trees, testing every possible approach to contact. They've tried revealing themselves to ancient civilizations and modern ones. They've shared technology and withheld it. They've been benevolent and threatening. Nothing produces the outcome they need. The truly terrifying implication is what happens when they run out of variations. Quantum mechanics allows for vast but finite branching. Given enough iterations, they'll exhaust every possible approach to contact within the constraints of physics and human psychology. We might already be approaching that limit. Attempt 10,847 might be one of the final viable timelines before they determine that successful contact with humanity is impossible. They stand before us now, these beings who exist outside linear time, and there's exhaustion in their communication. They've watched humanity rise and fall thousands of times. They know our history better than we do because they've lived through every variation of it. Every joke we tell, every scientific breakthrough, every war and peace, they've seen it all play out in slightly different configurations across thousands of collapsed timelines. We're not unique individuals to them. We're variables in an equation they're desperately trying to solve before the mathematics prove we're incompatible with the larger cosmic community they represent. If you want to see more videos like this, click the video on screen now and make sure to subscribe.